What's up, my dudes? Today we're going to be taking a look at the old whippersnappers and scrubby dubbies on Supercross 5, okay? I made me a custom track real quick called Big Daddy, and we're going to see if we can kind of test out this whip system a little bit. Oof! What, have any of you guys noticed with the track editor, like... Notice how right here off to the right, when I made like these straight sections, the track kind of falls off into the tough blocks. Instead of the tough blocks being like right on the side of the track, it's almost like you're like falling off the edge on the side. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but look at that. Look at how those tough blocks are actually lower off to the side of the track. Makes the track feel a lot more narrow when you're making a custom track in the track editor, but nonetheless, so yeah, the big thing with the whips in this game, I know a lot of you guys are going to be interested kind of in how the whips feel. That's always a pretty big thing with any of these milestone games. You know, have they fixed the whips? Have they changed them? What's going on with the whips? You know what I mean? Basically, the most I can gather from Supercross 5 is kind of feels to me like it's basically like you took the whip system of like Supercross 3 and 4 and you just made it a little bit smoother. You know, you made the kind of the animation of it a little bit smoother. The speed of the whip animation feels pretty good in this game. I know that was a really big problem like in Supercross 2. The whip animation was just so fucking slow you couldn't even... Like, realistically, it wasn't that fun to try to bring the bike back around or whip it very far over. You know, that's the thing. If you don't have, like, the whip animation fast enough, then what it'll turn into is dudes will just stop trying to whip because it's not worth it, you know, or they'll stop trying to scrub or whatever. But, like, It is basically the exact kind of whip system that you had in 3 and 4, but it's just a little bit more refined. It's a little bit more smooth of an animation, not as janky and buggy. I felt like it was really weird in MXGP 2021 when that game first came out, so thank God it doesn't feel that weird. You know, it's definitely a better feeling than that. So this may be one of the best whip feelings that we've had in any of the Supercross games, which is not saying a whole lot. You know, keep that in mind, obviously. But I do have to point that out, though. You know, it is one of the more, like, quicker, freer, smoother kind of whip systems that we've ever really had in these Supercross games. So... don't worry, boys. You can just overjump the quad to the triple face jump landing and not pop off the bike. It's all good, boys. No big deal, guys. But yeah, you can definitely do that like turn up style of whip. You can whip with both thumbsticks the same direction or opposite directions. Like if you turn them oppo directions, you'll get more of that old school milestone whip, right? So that is certainly interesting there for show. So yeah, I mean, let's just keep it real right now. The whip system in one of these games is a very, like, personal feeling kind of thing, you know? So some people are gonna love the whips in Supercross 1. I don't know how, but there's a lot of people that do. Some people are gonna love the whips in Supercross 3, or, like, they think it feels better in this game, and all this shit. Listen, my own personal opinion with it, the problem with the whips in Supercross 1 were you were just hitting a button and playing the exact same animation over and over. There was no... I mean, yeah, you could get the bike whipped out to the side pretty good, but it was so basic. It was so, like, you weren't really, like, whipping it your own personalized kind of way. You know, you weren't whipping it like... okay, I'm going to try to, like, go a little bit, lean a little more under the bike or get, like, toss it out upward, get under it or oppo, or there was just none of that with the first Supercross game. Whip system-wise, there was just none of it. So I really don't know where some of you boys are coming from when you talk about the whips were good in Supercross 1. They really weren't. it was just, I think it was kind of hard to fuck them up because you were just hitting that button and it was playing that animation, and it kind of looked like it was doing this like amateur sort of toss the bike out to the side kind of thing. So I think some of you guys got a little confused and thinking that was like a realistic whip system or some shit. I don't know, but it was very basic. You literally could have had the whip system on a button. You could have had it where it was hit the A button and hold the A button down to throw a whip, and when you let off of the A button, it comes back around like you would have had in the fucking mud game. You know what I mean? Milestone's actual first dirt bike game, okay? That's what the first Supercross game reminded me of. Just that, like, and I think it tricks some people up because, like, in your MXGP 1, 2, 3 days, the whips were just very restrictive. You know, you couldn't even get the bike over at all hardly in those games. It was a little better in MXGP3, but so I think that's where some of you boys, you get that confusion because the first Supercross game was the first milestone game that even really allowed you to actually whip the bike to any kind of an extent, but that doesn't mean it was a good whip system. You know what I mean? It was a very repetitive, hit the button, play the same whip animation over and over and over. Then they go to Supercross 2, and it's way too slow of an animation. You can't pull it back around. I think they even tried to update that at one point, but still pretty repetitive. Then you get to like Supercross 3. Then that really started to introduce where you could turn both your thumbsticks the same direction to whip instead of being forced to turn them both the opposite directions to whip. It's kind of a cool little area right here. Spency boy going to the lodge real quick. Don't worry about it, boys. Milestone still seems to have a little bit of a problem on their free ride track where there's like, where the fuck are the big jumps? I don't know. Still seem to have a little bit of problem with that here. But yeah, so then you get to Supercross 3, then you can start turning both your thumbsticks opposite direction, the same direction. You can start doing oppo whips. You can start, you know, doing a lot of things with it. And it seems like we still sort of have that base whip system that you got in Supercross 3. It's still the same thing here in Supercross 5. It's still that sort of core whip physics system that you had in Supercross 3, but it's just kind of refined on. It's kind of tweaked upon where it's not quite as buggy. It's not quite as, like, if you land sideways, the bike will try to instantly crash or pull you away or pull you a weird direction. It's a little smoother coming off of the jump face, you know, but with saying all of that, it still is basically, in a nutshell, the exact whip system that you got in Supercross 3. It's just a little bit freer, a little bit looser, a little bit easier to kind of get the bike turned over and pulled back around. It's a little bit like, you know, looser, like I'm saying. I mean, that's the only way I know how to really explain it, but that's pretty much the gist of your whip system. I'm just glad the shit don't feel broken, like totally broken. This is definitely no reflex whip system or anything like that. Don't ever get that twisted, you know what I mean? It certainly ain't nothing like that, but I just have to come in here and kind of show this a little bit and kind of show you boys what it is and what it ain't, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of personalization to the whips. There's a little bit of kind of finding your own sort of little flair to how you like to whip the bike. I don't really know where these games are going to progress from here with the whip system, but yeah, it's basically just a Supercross 5's whip system is a refined version of Supercross 3's whip system when that was originally introduced into the games. So yeah, that's about where it is. You'll still get a little bit of that weird, like, let me see if I can show it to you right here. Like, if you really start whipping it around, you kind of get that weird vibe where it's like the bike gets kind of stuck on its own axis in the air. It'll still do that a little bit in this game, but with it being looser and smoother, it's like you don't notice it quite as much as you did in, like, Supercross 3. So, I mean, it's, you know, not like a whole new whip system, not like a blow-your-mind whip system or anything, but just a refined version of what you already had, basically. So that's pretty much at the end of the day what the whip system is here with Supercross 5. Now, if you try to go to scrub the bike, let me God damn it, Milestone. Please, for the love of God, with your free ride tracks, make some bigger jumps on this bitch. I mean, what? Here we are again with this fucking... It's like hard to even find a big jump that you can actually properly hit the face of it on these free ride tracks. They've had that issue for the past couple games. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But it's like, damn, Milestone. Like, where's the sand dune free ride track with the fucking 300-foot dune jumps? Where is it? I've been waiting on it, dog. Where is it? I don't know. But if you just try to like go in here and scrub the bike like really early on the jump face, it still is not a whole lot of like different scrub system from the whip system, you know? It still doesn't really have that kind of feeling to it like you have when you try to snap scrub on reflex, or you try to really turn that bike on the jump face on like, you know, MX Sim or whatever. It's a lot. That's got like a kickered ass face to that. It's going to be hard for me to scrub on that to begin with. Holy shit, boys. We got the combine out here. She think my tractor sexy. Farming Simulator 2020-69 confirmed, boys. But it's just like, good God almighty, Milestone. I mean, yeah, I would love to, you know, throw my fishing pole out here and fish and shit, but this is a free ride track and a dirt bike game. I would love to hit some bigger jumps on the free ride track and a dirt bike game. You know, you remember Unleashed and Untamed and Reflex and Alive and every other arcade motocross game that's ever come out in the history of mankind. Okay. Oh, love it, dude. Love it, dude. It's like Milestone's more concerned about putting like this damn like little farm structures and shit on the track than they are actually putting fun big hittable hills or big hittable mountain sections or, you know, big ass dune jumps. It's like they're more concerned about the damn like objects on the free ride track than they are anything else. Is that a stick just sticking out of the fucking jump face? What? Milestone, what is that? You got some wood on your jump face, you know what I mean, dude? Alright, let's see if we can scrub this a little bit. See, if you try to scrub, it's like, it just still doesn't really have that natural glide over the face. It's like you've got to get plumb off of the ground before the bike will even start to really initiate that whip. Even if you turn it as hard as you can on the jump face, it just doesn't... I'm telling you right now, it's not going to naturally glide over that jump face like it did on Reflex. It just doesn't do that for some reason. They've got to get that figured out. Even if you turn it like opposite directions, I mean, it's just, you got to have it where turning both your thumbsticks the same direction, it will naturally glide off that jump when you turn it really before you come off of that face. You know, they've got to have more of that kind of feeling to these Supercross games. And that'll really start to allow you to be able to really scrub the bike differently than whipping the bike. As of right now, though, it's more like I mean, yeah, you can get it to glide off of that jump face a little more when you turn both your thumbsticks the opposite direction. Yeah, you can, but it's like, even when I'm turning both thumbsticks the same direction, it's got to be smoother off the face than that right there, you know? Because, like, turning both your thumbsticks the opposite direction, I mean, I get the whole idea around it and everything, but that's very different in the way you would scrub a bike. Like, I don't know any other way to explain it than that, but, like, it'll glide off of it a little bit like that, but... Even though you do that, you turn both your thumbsticks the opposite direction, it'll glide off the face, but then it kind of plays that same animation. You know, it doesn't have that. You know how when you're playing Reflex and you come off that jump face, when you scrub, it almost feels like you're getting the bike to do something a little bit different every single time you come off the face. Like whether or not how hard you turn it to the ground, or if you hit a little kicker, or if you do something like that. It's like the bike's always moving a little bit different every time you come off the jump face. But with these Milestone games, it still doesn't really do that. I mean, it just still don't really do that. But you can oppo it, you can turn it back, you know, you can still do that like you could in Supercross 3. But yeah, I mean, I still think the whip system could use quite a bit of work. Don't ever get that twisted, but it's definitely one of the smoother, more usable whip systems that I've seen in these milestone games. A lot of times it's so annoying even trying to do it in these games that it's not even worth doing, or it's not even fun to do. But this game's got it where it's at least like where it's worth attempting to try to do it, or it's worth, you know, trying to throw a whip here and there just for the shits and giggles because it's not going to totally fuck you up. You know, it's kind of got that feeling to it. So at the end of the day, that's my opinion on the whips with Supercross 5. Hopefully one day we can get more of a reflexy whip feel. I still to this day feel like that was the best arcade dirt bike game when it comes to whips and scrubs and all that shit. But it just had a unmistakable feeling to it, you know, a irreplaceable feeling to it. But yeah, so either way, guys, definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the whips of Supercross 5. And I'll see you boys on that next video. Later, dudes.